Good morning, everybody. It's June 9th, 2020. This is the 42nd vlog that I've done since this pandemic started. And today's title is In the Wilderness, Stressed Out Leaders. I think a lot of stressed out people out there right now. Just worn out completely. People that need some sympathy. I'm not just thinking pastors, I'm politicians, local officials, leaders are stressed out. And so in our last vlog, we looked at God's command to encourage your leader in the wilderness. Look at the way the protests are going. Everybody's criticizing, attacking leaders, and on every level that's going on. And so in Deuteronomy 1:28, Moses tells the people to encourage Joshua. I mentioned there are many ways to discourage a leader, and that I could only really think of one way, and I know there's more, but the main way to encourage a leader, and that is follow him. He's a leader. He's God's leader for you. His human failures are no excuse for not following. If God has appointed him or her as a leader, and my personal belief, very strong one, is there's no leader out there that God hasn't put in leadership, good or bad. Think of Daniel, how difficult it must have been for him to follow a pagan, Hitler, a Nebuchadnezzar. And so in Deuteronomy 1:9, Moses says this, as Moses speaking as leader, he says, I am not able to bear you myself. I can't handle this. I think people forget how difficult it is for leaders. I wrote up the verse. And I spake unto you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance and your burden and your strife? Three things that he had to carry that were way too much for him. And he was the greatest leader of all time, maybe. An awesome leader. He says, your cumbrance is the pressure, your ongoing demands. You need this, I need that. Your injuries, your cares, and the burden is being the leader, just like the leader, the burden of government. And strife doesn't need any explanation. People are constantly fighting with each other, with family, with leadership. And so that's the three things that Moses lists that wear out God's leader. And I know personally that they wear out God's leader. I've been there. I was surprised when someone challenged me because I acknowledged that leadership had worn me out. I'm with Moses. I'm not able to bear it. And I'm in good company with Moses. At least I hope so. So there are those three things that wear a leader out are, number one, the cumbrance of caring for people, their ongoing demands and needs. Everything from cleaning supplies, food, clothing, comfort, guidance, teaching, correction, encouragement. Phone doesn't stop ringing. There's a need. Paul describes this cumbrance this way. He says in 2 Corinthians 11:29, who is weak? And I am not weak. Who is offended? And I burn not. In other words, what happens to the people in their hearts and in their emotions and stresses, the leader feels that and bears it. Then he says, I'm not able to bear your burden. That's leadership, the government. Taking God's people through the wilderness and deciding, do we go left or right? Do we, and of course God was leading, but how do I handle the fact there's no water, no food? No permanent home, the destination is still 40 years away, 39 years away. It is a constant leadership pressure of decision making. It is carrying the responsibility of being the place, the person that where the buck stops. And a very final complaint comes to the government, to the leader. And then he said, I'm not able to bear your strife, your constant bickering, your constant resistance of going where the leader leads, digging in your heels, the strife among you, that needs to be quelled, stopped immediately, or strife against the leader that has to be borne in silence. Moses really could not complain out loud. He could not, say, you're being unfair to me, although they were many times, or the strife to be born in faith, learning when to be silent and when to speak up. Boy, that's a tough one. When do you not say anything? It is to be vulnerable to personal attacks and silence. You just take it as a leader. Moses faced that kind of personal attack from the two closest people to him, Miriam and Aaron, who were family. They were his second in commands, and they came after him. And the Bible says he was the meekest man in all the earth. He didn't respond. The good news is God defended him in a rather strong way. What is wonderful about Moses and his faith in all of this is that he says in Deuteronomy 1:13, take you wise men, and I will make them rulers under me for you. That is an act of faith. He's going to take a bunch of people that are as broken, as incapable of bearing the burden as he is, and give them responsibility. But that's for the next vlog. We're looking at for at least for another vlog. See, here's the thing that you have to get about this. God bears us, our cumbrance, our burden, our strife, and then he enlists people like you and I to help him with that, like Moses, like a pastor, to help him lead. Verse 13 is really where God says that, take you wise men in understanding and known among your tribes, and I will make them rulers for you. That's for a future vlog. Thank you, and may God bless.